Finally, the build that really started it all. It was my build of Ultimate Dungeon Terrain that got people asking me, hey, why don't you start a YouTube channel? So I did. It still uses my zone system rules. If you've never heard of Ultimate Dungeon Terrain before, it was an idea pioneered by Professor Dungeon Master. Link down in the doobly-doo. The stagecraft look really fits my painting style. I use Ultimate Dungeon Terrain a lot, more than I use the tiles. And now I'm going to show you how I make them. First, I'm going to need a big wooden circle. I grabbed some power tools and just kidding. I have somebody else do it. I go to Home Depot and purchase one of these 18-inch birch wood circles. Make sure you get the plywood versions. They're a lot cheaper than the solid wood versions. I peel off the label, grab an 18-inch ruler, and it's time to find the center of a circle. You do this by measuring from one edge to another and making a mark at the halfway point. Then, drawing a line at a 90-degree angle from that point. It'll point right to the center of the circle. Do it again from a second angle, and it'll point to the exact center of the circle. Then mark it with a Sharpie. Then I give the whole thing a coat of Black Magic Mod Podge, which is just Mod Podge with some paint in it so you know where you've painted. I base coat the board in golden brown, and then I redraw the Sharpie dot. You should be able to see it through the paint. Then it's time to wet blend in our dirt texture. I grab golden brown, brown, and mocha, and I wet blend them together into a mess. With some olive green, I grab one of my rattier brushes and I stipple in the base grass texture. I follow that up with a stipple of Spanish olive. And finally a pass with lime green. From the center line, here are our measurements. We're going to draw a horizontal line, and we're going to place a mark at 3 3/4 inches away from the center point. Then we're going to go out another 3 3/4 inches and place another mark. That should leave us 1.5 inches to the edge of the board. Then we're going to rotate 60 degrees and do the same again. Use a protractor to mark points at 60 degrees and 120 degrees from your first line. Do that on both sides of the line. The pencil lanes may be hard to see, but once you've got the dots, all you have to do is connect them. To draw the outer ring, I simply measure 1.5 inches in from the edge, pointed towards the center dot. I make multiple marks and then just link them all together. Then I cheat. I use a Sharpie and I trace out the lines. Once that's finished, I take some golden brown and I paint over my center dot so you no longer see it. And then I grab some brown and start laying in some rocks. Then I fill in the rocks with dark gray, followed by gray. And that completes the forest side, minus the hard coat at the end. For the dungeon side, I base the entire thing in navy blue, then I draw on my hexagrams. The tabletop crafters like to call it the turtle shell. Using a combination of 1 part navy, 2 parts dark gray, I lay in the stones. This part is very zen, very cathartic. It's like working in a Japanese stone garden. I'm just gonna let this play out. Then with a mix of 1 part navy, 2 parts brown, I pick out some of the stones. With a mix of 1 part navy and 2 parts golden brown, I highlight all the brown stones. It's squiggle time! With 1 part navy and 2 parts gray, I go ahead and highlight the blue stones. I treat the center of the terrain as the highlight. Let's give our deep, dark, dank dungeon some color depth. I'm gonna stipple in some olive green, followed by some Spanish olive for a highlight. With a mixture of 1 part navy, 4 parts water, I create a wash that I'm going to paint around the edge of the terrain. This will help give us more dramatic lighting and focus attention into the center of the board. And I finish the whole thing off with a hard coat of gloss Mod Podge, wait for it to dry, matte Mod Podge, and there's my version of Ultimate Dungeon Terrain. I'll be sure to post a video on how I use it. Thanks for joining me for today's project. Also, join us on the Tabletop Crafters Guild on Facebook so I can see what you're making.